Hello, everyone, and welcome to the VR Esports podcast. Unfortunately, today, Achilles could not make it as he is dead, but we have a wonderful guest on here today. Tropical, welcome to the podcast, man.
Woo!
What's up, dude?
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of
I watched your last one, and I was pretty excited when you asked me to jump on the next one.
Yeah, no, we were excited when we actually noticed that people were actually watching, because it was an idea we pitched where let's just do this. We don't see anyone else doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I was the one who said I see these people having takes on stuff VR related. I'm like, they're wrong. Right. So I was just like,
They're wrong.
Yeah, they're wrong. We know the truth, so we want to spread the truth. That's like kind of the main reason.
Do our best,
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, Taquito, do you want to start us off with your first question?
Yeah, so obviously we have the Vail release, full Vail release launch, right? The 1.0 launch coming February 15th. You guys already announced many things, like we have a few new maps, new skins. Is there anything that you guys haven't announced that it's going to be a surprise for the launch?
How about this? I'll tell you the truth, because you guys like spreading truth. We had a list of things like this big, like I can't even spread my arms out that big, of features and content. And we were supposed to launch last year because we estimated everything starting January. We launched last year, early access Steam, November. We started fixing a lot of things December. And then January, we sat down and said, okay, how long is it going to take to get, XYZ content and features in for us to consider us out of early access? We budgeted a year. That year came. We underestimated how long it would take to get the game running on Quest, cross-platform. It was just a lot. We also upgraded to Unreal Engine 5, underestimated everything. I think anyone that's played games long enough and has followed games in development knows it's not a new thing. So TLDR, we're marketing the game as Vail 1.0, but what that means to us is not, hey, we're done working on the game. It's actually just the beginning. We finally have the game live on the Meta main store, which to us is awesome. I actually was just checking our stats because I do weekly reports for our team. We hit an all-time high on peak concurrent players over the weekend, 2 days in a row. And we also hit, it's not an all-time high because technically on launch date, we hit a bigger number, but it's the highest since launch date in daily active users. So, all organic, no marketing spend. We're feeling really good. If what people say is true, that the Meta main store is 10 times larger than the App Lab, we're in for a lot of fun, because developing in silence and by yourself. I know you guys have been around during summer, but you knew how dead the game was during summer. We destroyed it with Unreal Engine 5 and just everything. We really wrecked it. Being able to have people test in real time and be excited about it just makes development a lot smoother, a lot more fun. So content-wise, I'll actually leak something here. I told you guys before we started, but I'll let you guys know. Today, we're going to, in a couple hours, we're not really marketing it. I might ping the Patreon supporters and the community and some of the hidden channels, but we're going to launch a build that is going to be the build for launch date. We're going to do it live for everybody. The main reason why is we just want to test it. So all the content you see today will be the content you'll see February 15th. We're going to reset progression and leaderboards and all that, obviously. But really, the next 30 days for us is just polishing, making sure that everything works properly, bug fixes. But yeah, you're going to have a shotgun. There's a couple other weapons in there. Progression, a lot of UI. For us, we're just really focusing on the simple things, like being able to add friends. And Taquito has killed himself.
That's fine.
I'm boring him to death. I guess I'll end my rant now.
No, but my next question really is just it's on the topic of having to delay games and stuff. It's how do you find a balance between interacting with your community and being like, stuff is coming. We really want to communicate with you guys, and also not having them be super disappointed with deadlines that honestly are not your fault. we've been around the scene for a long time. Delays are inevitable, right? Things just happen, right? So how do you strike that balance? How do you find that median?
So this is the hard part, right? And we're on a small scale, and I'll talk about AAA games.
Mhm.
When you're the more marketing you do, the bigger the budget for marketing. You start locking things in 6 months in advance, sometimes a year in advance. If you're doing Super Bowl commercials, with Eminem, you're locking that in 2-3 years in advance. So the business people and the marketing people talk to the engineers and the artists, and they say this is the roadmap. They base their whole marketing spend and budget around that. And then once that time comes and marketing's going out, and then the thing isn't ready, cause a lot of problems. We do it on a smaller scale where I'll talk to some content creators and tell them things that are coming, because content creators always want to be the first to talk about the new stuff. So I'll tell them, hey, this is coming on this date, so get ready. They plot their calendar accordingly, like, okay, this week we're going to talk about Vail's new feature. And then if we don't hit that, they get upset because they don't have anything to film about. We get upset because we didn't stick to our deadline. And then I leak a lot to the community because I like talking to them and kind of keeping them along the route. But yeah, it doesn't really work out, honestly. It really doesn't. So we've talked internally, and it's a good question you asked, but we've talked internally. And once we get to, February 15, we're not going to say anything anymore. We're just going to stick to our, once, I don't even want to give a timeline on it, but we're aiming for about once a month to push updates. And we're just going to start dropping stuff without saying anything anymore.
Right.
Because it creates a big stress for us.
Right.
Where we say things that we're working on, and then there's bugs, and then the bugs take priority. And it's not sexy to be like, hey, like all these features that we're working on, we're putting them on ice because we have bugs. But then people that get the bugs, like audio bugs or crashes or bad perf, right? They don't enjoy it. So it's hard. Like, I'm actually curious. I'd like to ask you the question. What do you think the community prefers? Do they prefer to kind of know what's going on? Or do they just want to be surprised?
Here's the thing, is that I feel like you could probably attest to this, Taquito. We're talking about the balance between talking to the community and keeping things silent and not having like uproars of angry children. I think that the bigger your community gets, unfortunately, the quieter the developers have to be, because if you have a small, super understanding, super passionate community, they'll be fine with you saying, hey guys, we got to push something back. But to be honest, I feel like as communities grow, and we've seen Triangle Factory transition to this, I mean, just giving kind of like vague deadlines. It's not about pleasing the most people. It's about making the least amount of people angry, is unfortunately what it turns into.
It's actually super helpful that you said that, because I remember when we first started, we had a couple hundred people, and it was just like I could screen share anything. Now that we're bigger, and by the way, a lot of people on Quest, they don't even use Discord. You'd be surprised. Very small amount of Quest users even use Discord. It's mainly PCVR users. So I actually like what you said there. It makes me feel good about where we're going. I like sharing everything about development. It makes the development journey fun. Plus, I would rather talk about things I'm working on or the team's working on, so that, if it's stupid and the community doesn't like it, we can pivot faster. But then it also creates a problem if we don't hit deadlines. So I agree with you. I guess what you're saying is, should I stab him? Oh, I don't have my knife.
Move around a little, buddy.
What you're saying is basically just don't really say anything and just drop stuff.
I don't
at this stage.
I think that might be the least painful option. Unfortunately,
Patreon users can know. And
Patreon, because those are passionate, supported people, right? It's like if they're giving you money, they love the game, and they're going to be okay with you pushing it back to make it better. But gosh, the public, man, they can be very frustrating sometimes. We know that firsthand.
Like the main thing about Vail, we've always talked about, is how close the developers are with their community. That's like the best thing. That's one of the things that I know a lot of people loved about Vail. How X Labs is always communicating, your occasional leaks of content coming in, and that was like always super fun. But I do agree with Odd. The bigger you get, the more criticism you're going to receive with some stuff. Like we saw recently with the round change that you guys did. I know you guys, we were on the other side. We saw all the criticism, especially from the competitive side, at least, that you guys got from that. And I guess that's something
I'll
that
say
shows.
something funny. Data improved a lot Going to 7, albeit I barely had enough data because everyone complained so much. We went to 9, data dipped. So my theory of shorter round times to the limited data that we have, and now, by the way, we have a lot of data on the 9 round limit. Dude, most people want shorter games. They don't drop out, right? They just don't drop out. Like, most people are actually completing the game compared to when we were at 11. And even though we only had a little bit of data on the 7, it was like even stronger than the 11. Or sorry, stronger than the 9 even. But whatever. We're at 9. I think we'll leave it here just because we do want to please our core community that we love so much. But we're gonna keep working on more game modes that are more casual oriented because there's only really one game mode for comp. So we'll see how that starts spanning out, and we're gonna start collecting data on what people are voting on in the shuttle, so we can see what people actually want to play. And it's very simple. If you don't want to play a competitive game mode, don't vote for it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. My next question actually has to do with this right back here. I hope I'm pointing to it on camera. Yes, the social hub. My question is, at Acer, I would say that we see VR as pretty much a social medium. It's a way for a lot of people to come together and make communities and culture. Can you speak more to that and how you design this game around that?
Yeah, so we have a lot of things under the hood that we've been working on, like cross-platform, friend system, being able to add each other, party up, etc., which you'll see some of them in today's update. A lot of them are going to make it a couple weeks right after the launch because delays. But yeah, the main point that we see is whenever you play a first-person shooter, you'll play some random game modes just for fun, talk shit with your friends, and then you'll go into the comp game mode for like a couple hours of serious gameplay. Then you get burnt out because it's normal, requires a lot of like strategy and talking and communication. Then you'll go back to casual game modes, right? And just mess around and have fun. What we want to do in VR is essentially, what's up, Taquito? Our Aextropical is too serious, huh? But yeah, the main goal is we want people to just hang out, socialize. Eventually, right now, progression is mainly for weapons, cosmetics, sites, things like that. Eventually, we're going to add purchasable furnishings for the armory so that, so eventually you'll be able to like design the armory the way that you want. And something that we are working on the map side is we're making a social hub, which essentially is just going to be a place that if you want to just come and hang out and meet people, you click it, you're in a level that you can just hang out and talk to people. You'll see physical versions of all the shop people, so you can actually buy from NPCs instead of just doing it in your tablet. Just so it's like a more social, like going to the mall situation. We'll also have like a combat zone, mini game zone, and it's really just a place for people to like meet people and hang out. Right? Think gorilla tag with guns, right? Like that's literally what we're doing. But you'll also be able to buy and hang out. Something that we want to do also after that is not only have your social map, your hub, and then your armory. So you can go to the social hub hypothetically by yourself, meet people, say, hey, look at all this cool stuff I'm buying. Let me go show you in my armory, right? And then you invite them to your party. Boom, now they're in your armory. You get to show off stuff. But then we want to do clan houses. So you'll be able to buy a clan house if you have enough people. And then you'll be able to like decorate an armory with a group of friends. Whether it's just a clan for fun or a competitive clan, you'll be able to decorate a space with your friends that you can all like have as like a mutual meeting ground, which will be pretty cool. So these are like the social things that have been on the back burner for a long time because of bugs and polishing and porting and random things like that. But the map for Social Hub is about, I'd say 30-40% done. And once that's done, it's just about the programmers getting it done. You will experience matchmaking today. Finally, we've been tweaking it for a long time. Yeah, so you'll be able to matchmake, and it will be the same thing for the Social Hub. You'll be able to matchmake and get dropped into the first available Social Hub, so you can always meet random people.
That's awesome. No, well, yeah, touching up on that, I remember you guys did mention about the whole social system, and I've always been excited for that because
me too.
Vail is already a really good shooter, and adding a social aspect on that is huge because, like, we've talked about it in the other podcast about how all these other social VR games have brought a lot of, at least we're talking about the competitive side since that's where we hang out. Like, it brings the competitive players together a lot. And like I've always said, it brings teams that usually are competitive against each other, like rival teams that you would never expect to hang out. I've hung out with teams that used to hate Acer, right? They hate us, but after we hang out, we socialize. They learn to like us some more, and we actually bond. And I message some of them now, so it's a cool thing. It's definitely that what's special about VR, how it brings people together that like the other flat screen games can't do. So yeah,
Yeah, it's my favorite part about VR too.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. So I was looking at your website yesterday, and a question occurred to me is that I was looking through it and it's got so many like little details, and I realized that the same thing is true about Vail. There's so many little tiny details that some people won't even notice, and it's clear to me that this whole project is a passion product. This is something that you absolutely love, and you wouldn't be doing it the way that you are if you didn't love it. So can you speak more to how passion works in a medium like this that doesn't have a ton of players, doesn't have a ton of money, doesn't have massive sponsors? What do you think about that?
It's the worst financial decision we've ever made in our life, but I've never been happier.
Yeah.
I used to work in finance here in Miami for real estate projects, and you can't compare it. Like, I love what I do every single day, and I genuinely believe that I love it so much that I can't be crazy. You guys love it too. I speak to so many people that when investors are like, "Oh, VR doesn't make sense," I'm like, "You haven't spent a day in VR, because if you do,
right,
it's just a matter of time. Like, it's only growing." So
yeah,
is it a bad financial decision? Only time will tell. But look, if I have my only goal, right, is very simple. I want to be able to log on to Vail any time of the day and find a match. I don't care if it's 9 people. I don't care if it's 1 million people. I just need 9 other people to play with. As long as there's 9 people to play with, I am happy. And I will be very proud to say that since we've been on App Lab, not even main store, App Lab, I have not logged in and not been able to find someone to play with. Not once. Super happy.
No,
and I'm weird.
same.
Like, I'll play 3 a.m. I'll play 11 a.m. I'll play all the time. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes there's like 1 server. Sometimes there's 20 or 30, which I've seen, which is crazy to me. But that's all I really care about. Just being able to enjoy this with other people. And dude, like Apple, right? Like, Apple's a thing. That's gonna do something. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
It might take a couple years, but it's gonna do something. We don't have to rant on it because everybody already knows about it. But that's it, right? It's just a matter of time. Apple, the biggest company, #1 biggest company in the world, believes that it's something. So if Apple's wrong and I'm wrong, I'll take it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, same for us. I mean, we put like over the course of the last few months, A-Tier has basically turned into a part-time job for us because of all the recruiting, all the content, all this crazy stuff. And so I've come to this conclusion that while this may not be like fiscally worth my time, it's definitely worth it in experiences, right? It's worth being able to hang out, do like crazy stuff like this. I mean, who would have thought that this would have been possible? However long ago.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, we started Acer as just a team for Vail, and then we expanded into an actual organization, and now we're competing at the top levels. I know recently, actually yesterday, our Breachers team won first place in VRML, which is huge. Yeah,
very nice.
But yeah, we definitely want to see the growth of VR, and I love that Vail is also pushing for that. XLab really wants that. Sure. I know you mentioned you want Vail to be the main esports game, right? You've always pushed Vail to be an esports game, and that's definitely what we want and love about Vail. So I'm excited to see.
The way I look at it is, I want to be the #1 esport game, but to be the #1 esport game, you need to, 1, have a competitively sound game that's fair. We did that. It took a long time, but I feel like we did that. There's a couple things here and there to polish up, but fundamentally, I would say that today there's no game that comes close to us on tech and game design for a competitive game. It just doesn't exist. Now, 100%. Don't get me wrong. There's games like what's the car racing game? Rocket League, right? And that's competitive, and that's fine. But I'm a first-person shooter guy, and you know what it's like in VR. Because VR has a lot of random things that people can abuse. And if you want to make esports on a large scale, you can't have 100 gentlemen agreements. Like it just doesn't scale. So that's number one.
Yeah.
But now that we've kind of done that, the next phase is you need to have a large audience so that the competitive players are being watched, because if not,
right.
what's the point? You guys want to compete for the same 100 viewers? It doesn't make sense, right? It's like having a sport no one's heard of. I was watching a funny movie yesterday. Apparently, did you know that speed walking is an Olympic sport?
Yes. Oh my god, I saw that yesterday too. That was hilarious.
You saw that movie?
All right, I saw like a little video on that.
The
I was
coupon movie?
I did not know that.
It was on Netflix, and I was just kind of like, what's going on? But anyways, the point is, my next goal is how do I get a lot of casual users to play for fun, and then say, let me Google who are the top. It's the same way whenever you play a game, who are the top players in that game, right? But that's casual players looking up to competitive players.
Yeah.
Now I need to open up the funnel for the casual players, which I think we'll do with some fun game modes, some other things like progression and things like that on the Meta main store. They get to watch and know that you guys are number one, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that would be cool. Any kind of promotion, I mean.
Yeah, content. We're big into the content world.
Yeah.
Good content does crazy things. We've learned.
Yep.
Uh,
Talking about Vail, I have another pretty strange question. Can you tell us what Vail started off as? How did?
Yeah. It's my brother and I. My brother's a musician, also a programmer. He was working on a VR music experience for one of his albums, and it was essentially like a really cool, like listening to the cool music while shooting targets thing. And then it ended up being multiplayer, and then it ended up becoming Vail. It took a couple years, but that was how it started. It started as, hey, let me make a VR music experience. The thing is, when it's single player in VR, at least in the early days, like 2016, 17, when we dropped one of our first projects, we had like a 40-50% refund rate because people would play it for an hour because it was an hour experience and then just refund it. And we're like, and it was getting ripped. It was getting ripped also. It's like, dude, like why are you ripping this, right? Support the arts, but apparently people don't like to pay for music. They don't like to pay for movies. They don't like to pay for TV. But yeah, that's how it started. And then it just, as VR grew and grew and grew, we could justify spending more time and eventually going full time into the space. And now we're just trying to be, whatever the best we can do is for a multiplayer shooter.
Yeah.
And I definitely think it's going in that direction because, I mean, I consider Vail one of the most active leagues right now compared to the other ones. So I definitely see that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We're excited. I'll tell you a couple of things. One, the website, by the way, we have a full redesign that we're going to go live with sometime in February. Super sick. Like the old one sucks compared to what we've made.
Wow, I thought it was so cool.
Yeah,
I know. It came out cool. It's going to be like, this is like 100. It puts that one to shame because we're getting ready to integrate stats and leaderboards and like a lot of different things. And you can see all the cosmetics.
Okay.
You have to be able to log into your Vail account and connect platforms, etc. So it looks epic. Like I'm super excited for that. And then two, now that we've kind of like, I think we're close. The next big thing that we have to work on, the tech thing under the hood, is just getting onto PlayStation, which we have a dev kit for. So we're going to be working towards PlayStation VR 2 this year. But after PlayStation VR 2 launch, we have all the tech to be able just to make game modes. So we're sure yet. Do we want to make a wave shooter? Do we want to do some type of survival game? Do we want to do a battle royale? Do we want to come up with some hybrid game? I've been playing a couple of different shooter games that some of my friends are putting me onto that are like weird hybrid type shooter games that are like super fun and interesting. And we're not sure yet, but we're excited to finally get to the point where we can just start pumping out game modes under Vail.
Yeah,
that's super cute. That's super cool. I mean, coming from, I used to play Rec Room, and that had a bunch of game modes. And the thing about having a lot of game modes is you have a bunch of different communities that focus on those game modes. So if you guys were to release a BR, a battle royale, then that could spark up a whole
Vail
different
VR,
community that's focusing on just the battle royale section. And then you have the actual competitive artifact section. You have the survival section,
and where
that's
do
like
they
different
meet?
communities
In the social hub.
In the
there
social
we go.
hubs.
Yeah.
That's huge. That would actually be so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, we've built the game
I-
so that we can extend it and maintain one version of the game across multiple platforms. So we have very
Uh-huh.
little tech debt, which now we're ready to start using.
yeah. I mean, there you go.
That's cool. Yeah, something that you talked about. You talked about leaderboards. I know something that a lot of competitors are competitive players. They're huge on ego, right? They have like the biggest egos ever. So having a leaderboard would definitely motivate a lot of people. Even if you add a leaderboard to the the practice range, that
Yeah,
would spark
yeah.
up a lot of people
We're
playing the
gonna.
practice
By the
range,
way, just
trying to reach
we're
to
gonna
the top.
redo the whole mini game thing, and every mini game we add is gonna be tied into the leaderboard. So even for
Ooh.
hockey and golf and random things, but all the
That's
mini
huge.
games were just built very poorly, so they're all gonna get remade. and we do have the under the hood for stat tracking finally. So expect a remake on all the mini games and stat tracking on them very soon. We need to do
Yeah.
it per gun. Like to give you an example, like we need to make it per gun, right? Because it's not fair if someone has an
Mhm.
Uzi or if they have a pistol, right? So there's a
Uh-huh.
lot of little things that were done wrong on the mini games to just get it out quickly. But we're with you.
Yeah. Can you, in terms
cool.
of more
Cool
on the
physics.
competitive side, can you speak to how you balance the game between because I've seen this firsthand, is that there are some people that normal human players want, like your average Joe hopping on the game, he wants 7 rounds. But your 40 hours a week Vail player typically doesn't want that. They want something else. Can you speak to how you balance the game, or do you change the game at all, keeping in mind both the competitive side and the casual side?
My goal, and by the way, my brother is like hardcore Counter-Strike, like played top competitive. My goal is once we have our custom modifiers for custom lobbies where you can set up all your own rules, which is almost done, I'm going to push it back down to 7. And anybody can, you guys want to go do 20 round games, like have fun with that. Yeah, I mean that's just how I'm targeting it, because it's just like you look at, I'm a data guy. I look at the data. 90% of people are dropping out of an artifact match. One, be honest, that's not fun for anybody, because if you're winning and they drop out, you feel like they just stole it from you. If you drop out, you're upset. That's why you're dropping out. So my goal is just it needs to be a certain amount of time where no one drops out. Like no one can drop out, because if someone's dropping out, it just ruins the vibe. Eventually we are going to add bots so that one, if you're in a match, you're never going to be empty. It's like even if it's you and 9 bots. And then we do have backfilling already. We already have backfilling so that people, can replace the bots eventually and be in the game. But still, I don't want anybody to drop out. That's my number one goal. If people are dropping out, it's not a good time for anybody.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And in terms, this is something that I've asked pretty much every developer that I've interacted with. What do you think is the biggest challenge that is unique to VR? Taquito and I talked a lot about play spacing and how the camera moves in really weird ways. What do you feel as a developer?
So I'm not an engineer. If I was an engineer, I'd probably say budget on standalone for a multiplayer game, because if it's multiplayer, especially a 5v5, your budget's cut in 10 if you think about it. Right? Because you now have 10 people on one server. So single player is not that hard. Multiplayer, it's like you already have a small budget, right? You have a small budget, and then now it's even smaller because of 10 people. From a CEO standpoint, also budget, but financial budget, because you want to make the highest quality game, but the market's only so big, and you can only justify investing X amount into a market that's only so big. So then you have to speculate and say things are going to grow at this rate, and it hasn't happened at the rate that anybody's wanted over the last decade. So that's, I guess it's budget for both sides, right? One is perf and one is financial. That's the most difficult thing, but at the same time, it's the most rewarding, because it's such a difficult thing to do that not many people attempt it. And a lot of people that attempt it sadly fail. So the fact that we've just been, doing this for 7 years is like wild, right? We're still here. We're very lucky. We have a great group of investors that believes in VR, and I think we've built something really special. So excited to get it out and just keep building.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Yep.
Do you have any? I think we got time for 1 or 2 more questions, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, another thing I would want to ask is skins are really big with the people that I hang out with. Skins mean everything, right? So I know that with your new progression system, our skins are gonna
Yeah.
be a thing that you progress to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also
We even
really
have
cool
prestiging,
because,
so you can get the epic skins or the mythic skins by prestiging.
oh, that's
Mm.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I come from a game, like I said, Rec Room. We played for no money. We played for, if you win first place, you get a gold skin of the gun
Honor.
that you use. Yeah,
And
and
that's
honor. Yeah, so I know skins would be definitely one of the coolest things to have like a player earn. So I'm excited to see that. Also, like with VRML, if you guys were to implement a skin to, I mean, I'd rather win a skin than $1,000, and I know
Oh,
a
for
lot of
sure.
people would
Any day.
agree,
Any day.
would
Any
agree
day.
with me. So
We're
you can
working on
easily
skins
motivate.
for VRML, so that's already
That's
Yeah,
massive.
there it is.
That's actually really cute.
Yeah, shout out to the VRML people. I believe that by the time this comes out, I think it's going to come out about the 15th, maybe. That's when when you're releasing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're releasing Feb 15.
Yeah, check out Vail on the store February 15th. It's going to be great. But yeah, I think by that time, Breach or Vail VRML is going to be in full swing, right?
Mm-hmm. Season
Yeah,
1.
yeah.
It's gonna be starting.
Can't wait.
Are you guys gonna win?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll do.
I mean,
we'll
it's
do
a little
our
biased,
best.
but yeah,
We'll do
we'll
our best.
definitely, we have a good chance.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get top 3 at least.
And is there anything that you're thinking about that you would want to get out to the community?
I think I told you guys today we're gonna secretly drop an update to get a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're
That's
gonna
really
get
where my
right
head's
on
at
that
right now.
But, yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's pretty good. Thank you so much, Tropical, for your time. Thank you for
Thank you,
coming
On,
in
and
here
thank
with
you, Theo.
us.
If you guys
Thank
ever
you
have
for-
questions, by the way, you can always reach out to me. If you ever want to do anything, I'm available. And I
Awesome.
appreciate what you guys do. Love watching you guys grow and get better, and I'm excited to see how you guys do.
Awesome. And
Yeah,
thank
thank
you
you.
to all of our wonderful viewers for supporting us and leaving comments and likes. It really does make it like much better, so much better to have an audience, to have people that support this kind of thing. And we hope that both the audience and we continue to grow and prosper. And thank you guys so much. Thanks to Tropical for being here with us. And have a nice one.
Bye-bye.